here.
Why are you guys all here?
Good morning, chefs.
Oh boy.
Morning.
Seeing Tom and Gail, I'm just like, oh crap, what are we gonna get into now? Something's intense about to happen.
You might be a little surprised to see Tom and Gail this morning. Any guesses why?
No, but it's scary.
We don't want to miss out on all the fun.
That's right, because from now on in, we will be here alongside Tristan judging the rest of the quickfires in Canada.
Awesome.
We are going to factor in both the quickfire and the elimination challenge in deciding who stays and who goes home.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for pushing play on my little podcast. I appreciate it. And just a reminder to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content to make sure you are know when everything drops, and follow on your favorite podcast player of choice. Hit like and subscribe so you'll know when those new episodes drop. A couple of program reminders. I have some big collaborations hopefully coming up and some big interviews coming up later after Top Chef. So make sure again that you're liking and following so you know when those are happening. But we're continuing down the road of Top Chef season 22. We're on episode 9. Seven chefs remain. And joining me once again, who looks like I am interrupting their workday, is Top Chef season 21 finalist and marvelous multitasker, Chef Savannah Miller. Chef Savannah, thank you for your time and working me into your prep day.
Oh my God, I love it. I'm so happy you don't mind, Rich. I was just telling you before we started recording, it's graduation weekend here. I live near like Chapel Hill, Duke University, UNC, right? So it is a huge deal this time of year in Durham, and it's also like Mother's Day weekend. So right. I thought, let the people see what life is really like behind the scenes,
Yeah, no, that's cool. I love it. I mean, chefs are nothing but master multitaskers. So I have no issue watching you do your thing while we talk about Top Chef and getting it all done at the same time, like a boss.
I realized kind of like this is what I normally do is I prep and I yap about Top Chef. So it's more natural for me than anything. I feel like
Cool.
Normally I don't know what to do with my hands. So
And we got it on camera, so it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Man, we got a lot to talk about. We got chefs hanging off the side of a building. We have a 2-part plot twist, Last Chance Kitchen. We have quick fire twist and turns. Again, just a jam-packed 54-minute episode. And I'm can't wait to jump right in. So let's get to it. So we open the episode. We're still on the news about Tristan's father-in-law or stepfather passing away, and the momentum has shifted for him, or the motivation has shifted for him, going from, I was doing this to, show a light on underrepresented groups in the kitchen. And, but now I'm doing this in memorial, in memory. And I think hearing him say that, they're both great motivators, but doing it for yourself and doing it for the memory of a lost loved one, I think is a much stronger motivation. And not
Absolutely.
and having and not not having the burden of you feel like you're doing this for those behind you seems so daunting and so large, and to really narrow your focus down to something like your father-in-law, I think is a much better motivator for him.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna see that. So what do you think about that opening?
Oh, I mean, obviously it's very heartfelt. But I agree with you. I think that either way, you're doing it for more than yourself, right? Which is something that you need going into something like Top Chef. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone win that didn't have something really pushing them besides like, I want $250,000. But I believe that this kind of opens him up. For me, it would be more like, my family loves and supports me, and they're going to be happy that I stuck this out and I was strong. And I think it's going to take some pressure off in a way, right? Like he did the hardest thing that he's probably going to have to do there. And that was get through that service. And I think it's inspiring. And like I said last week, I think this is like a fire under him.
Yeah. And for him, cooking, I'm sure, is a form of therapy. It's hard enough being away from your family during this time. So you really focus in on your found family of other chef testants there with you, and focusing in on the cook and making sure you're doing your best and making your stay worth it, right? Making the stay of not going home and dealing with those emotions worth it. For you and your family. So, good luck to him. He, as we see through this episode, he is trucking right along. There has not been a gap in performance for him. So we'll see what he does. What are you making? I'm going to be asking this a lot. If you show this on camera, I'm going to be asking, what you doing there? And if you're an audio listener, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcast, I'm sorry, go tune into YouTube, and you're going to be seeing this. What you making?
I feel bad. So essentially, at the restaurant, we do a few tasting menus, and there's a really special bite that you can really only get if you have, I would say, like the top 2-tier menus, right? And we work with a local company. Shout out to Chapel Hill Creamery in North Carolina, but they make this brie cheese. It's called Carolina Moon. It's really, really good. And we will essentially cut that into pieces like so, and we wrap it in a little bit of nori. And that will look like this. And then this will get tempura fried, and we finish it with black truffles and honey. It's pretty good.
Oh my gosh. Just like salty, sweet, all the things that I love in a good little bite.
Fried cheese. I have to say true to my Wisconsin roots.
That's right. Fried cheese. I thought it was like, is she wrapping tofu? What's going on there? It kind of looks like tofu.
I was trying when I was explaining it to you, I was like, how do I tell him I'll just be wrapping little tiny packages? And I was like, it's kind of like dumplings. And I was like, it's not, but it's like same idea.
Yeah. So just be prepared. I'm going to ask what you're making if we continue on this.
I love
this
it.
recording. I digress. Anyway, quick fire. Let's get back on focus here. So quick fire, huge twist here. We have all three judges. We have Gail, Tom, and Kristen. That's going to be judging all the quick fires from here on out. And now the quick fires are going to play a role in who goes home at the end of the night. So they're normally only judged on what they put up in elimination challenge, but now the whole performance for that episode is going to come into play, which I think we see here, because I really think had that not been the case, another person would have went home. And we'll talk about that. I don't know how I feel about that.
I know exactly how I feel.
So we won't spoil that. So the challenge, Prince Edward Island mussels, the famous Prince Edward. I love mussels. We have guest judge Ilona Daniel, who's a professor at the Culinary Institute of Canada and from Prince Edward Island. And she is a huge proponent and advocate for the Prince Edward Island mussels. Anytime I see mussels on a menu, I try to order it. I'll see it on an appetizer menu, and I'll have them add pasta if that's an option, and that's my meal. I mean, I love mussels. So I was really into this challenge. But the challenge was to make a mussel dish, but to be creative. So no basic white wine steamed, mussel dish that you see everywhere. They got to be creative with it, and they only get 20 minutes because mussels don't take a whole long time to cook. And so it was a little bit of a challenge to do that. And now they're plating for 5 people instead of 2, which, when you think about that does take away at least a minute per plate off your cook time, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, they did this in our season as well. And which is kind of funny whenever they were like, oh man, like, are you guys surprised? Like, I was kind of like, no, if you watched last season, you should not be surprised. But I love how Tristan was like, I thought this was the pig the whole time. I'm going to start using that one. But I mean, I think that it really does, like, you think that maybe that's happening the entire time. It's not. Now they will actually use it at the table. And I think that having, I don't know, like that many plates that you have to do in one part of my brain, when they told us that, I was like, who cares, right? Like, I'm prepping. It's the same movement. I'm not like doing 5 dishes one after another. I can just execute them all. But in reality, no, it is more, because it's like you're fighting for proteins, you're fighting for space, like you're actually fighting for plates. And it's just upping the ante a little bit.
Yeah, right. And then the time aspect of all of that coming into play. So, I say it was a huge twist, but you're right. It happened on previous seasons, but it is a twist to them. They don't know if it's coming or not, but it is right around. Yeah, obviously after Restaurant Wars, you got to do something to up the ante of everybody and up the tension. So I thought it was good. Yeah. So let's talk about the different dishes that were presented. So you had Battle of the Squash Blossoms. You had Tristan versus Massimo, which it's always fun when you see 2 sort of identical dishes going head to head, because then the judges have to compare the 2 together. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Shuai did a scallion ginger mussel. Cesar did a beet juice coconut fat steamed mussel. Vinny did a larb style mussel. I thought that was kind of neat. Bailey, I guess, did a mezcal steamed mussel, kind of looked like it. And then Tristan did mussel and zucchini. So Tristan did the mussel and zucchini blossom with the zucchini salad. Massimo did the smoked mussel sandwich wrapped in a zucchini flour and deep fried. Lana did a mussel toast inspired by an Italian sub. So the winner of the squash blossom fight was Tristan over Massimo. So let's talk a little bit about that. A deep fried squash blossom, I've had those before. I like it. Where do you think it went wrong for Massimo versus Tristan?
I mean, to be honest, I really just focused the most on Tom's comment, being like, he just made a better one. Like you know, essentially, like, I think both of the idea, obviously, well, it's the same idea. I think the idea was a good idea. I love the squash blossom. I love the simplicity of, I guess, like both of them zeroing in on kind of not using too much. But at the end of the day, like, if I saw Tristan grabbing anything, I wouldn't grab that thing.
That's true. Like, kind of watch what Tristan's doing and just do the opposite. I mean, it's one thing to cook against the guy and then trying to cook something the exact same that what he's, or somewhat it's the same what he's doing. I like when the judges ask Tristan's like, hey, have you ever done something like this before? And he goes, no. And they all kind of chuckled. Like, that's his theme. It was so good.
Yeah. And like, not to knock Massimo. Massimo's amazing, you know, but I think that I myself would pay, you know, Masterclass, that little online thing you pay for. I would pay for a masterclass just to get inside Tristan's brain. And like I think that he should start a podcast and it's like, here's your quick fire, and he just tells people what he would do. Like, I think he's so creative that like it's not against anybody else. I just haven't seen anybody like him. Yeah,
I mean, I'm trying to think of seasons past. He's just really amazing this year. I mean, you have somebody like a Buddha Lowe, a once in a, I don't know, I don't want to say generation, but a once in a, you know, career opportunity guy like Buddha coming on Top Chef and just breaking the show. I think Tristan's kind of like right up there in the same sense of creativity. We joked about rules of, you know, one of the rules of Top Chef is never cook anything you haven't really cooked before, or a variation of what you haven't cooked before. Tristan's like the exception to that rule. He's like, I'm going to do this, and we'll see what happens. And it just comes out great every time. And it's just it's really cool to see. It's really cool to watch him work. And it's like watching a professional athlete like Jordan in his prime. It's just a joy to watch him move around the kitchen. So, Tristan beat Massimo in the Battle of the Squash Blossoms. That was really, really cool. But Lana took the 25K in quick fire cash. Her dish was the mussel toast inspired by an Italian sub. Looked great. I thought was very creative too. And I love a good Italian sub. I never thought about throwing like a briny mussel on it, but I think it would fit. You have kind of those rich Italian meats on an Italian sub, and having something a little bit salty and briny on top of that, you know, would be really good.
I could, when she was saying that, you know, I think that's always like a really good place to start off with, especially in a quick fire. If you have to think quick, it's like pick something that you know the flavors are really balanced on, and that's like nostalgic, and then put your twist on it with the dish. And she did that really well, and I could feel like I could taste her dish. Yeah, like with them describing it.
Yeah, and it looked. I was watching the screen. I was like, "Whoa, that looks like." I feel like I could taste it through the screen. Like when she said Italian sub, I had those kind of flavors in my mind, and then throwing the mussel on there was really good. And I just said she won 25K. She's won a total of 25K in quick fire cash. I think this one was 10K. So nice little quick fire. Good tribute to PEI Mussels. Really Canadian focused. So it was really nice to see Canada kind of in the spotlight again in terms of. Challenge kind of wrapped around Canada, so that was good. So that brings us to the elimination challenge, and we have another corporate sponsored challenge, this time by the upcoming movie.
Say not like Canada centric. We have to balance out the episode.
Yeah, we got to bounce. All right, Canada, get out of the way. It's time for our corporate overlords to pay our bill.
Need some tricks and some showbiz stuff. That's right. So we are promoting Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. I love the Mission Impossible movies, I will say. So I think at this point in the, what are we, like 10 movies into Mission Impossible? I've never seen any of them.
What? How are we friends? What are you doing?
I'm sorry. I know. I need to. I was really worried that there would be something pertinent to, like, I don't know, like the advantage would be like, how many Tom Cruise lines can you quote? And I was like, oh no, I wouldn't do well in this, and I still wouldn't because of the heights, but no, I need to catch up.
So the Mission Impossible movies are great. They're known for Tom Cruise Tom Cruise in general is known for doing his own stunts, but I don't think no movie franchise highlights that more than the Mission Impossible franchise of him just doing crazy stuff, hanging off the sides of planes, doing 10-minute underwater scenes. It's just insane. And what's crazy, how much you know about Tom Cruise and the level of stunt work he wants on his movies. He requires all of his co-stars to also do their own stunts. So it's nuts hearing some of the stories of the co-stars like, I've never done this before, and doing this with Tom Cruise is just insane.
Yeah, I don't know if I know any of like that. I know stuff about Tom Cruise, but none of the fun stuff. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So at this point, about halfway through the Mission Impossible franchise, I feel like the movies are more along the lines of what Tom Cruise wants to do, and then structure a movie around it. I want to hang off of a biplane this episode, and let's make a movie about it. So it's crazy. So this one though, the movie tie-in challenges are always a little bit cringy for me. Do you remember the Fast 10 challenge a few seasons back where they were promoting Fast and Furious 10?
I do. I don't know, to be honest. I can't tell you exactly where they were, like what season it was, but I know, and I also remembered like when Chris Pratt and his wife were there.
Yeah.
There was yeah.
So the movie tie-ins are always a little weird because then the challenges get a little nebulous, and this is not any different from those previous challenges. So the challenge is create a dish that delivers on the Mission Impossible integrity and features a stunt. The moment I heard that, I was thinking about your season, the Chaos Challenge, the Lay It on the Table Challenge, and the Frank Lloyd Wright Challenge. It's just like, can you be any less clear on what the challenge parameters could be? Because everyone defines those a little bit differently. Now, Kristen did help a little bit and actually read out the definition of the stunt. So I guess maybe they learned from their lessons in the previous seasons and said, okay, here's what the literal definition of stunt is: an unusual or difficult feat requiring great skill or daring. So before we get into the nitty gritty of the challenge, what did you think of these parameters, and thinking back to your season where you kind of like, oh, they're doing this again?
I mean, to be honest, my first thought, because I'm self-centered, was I was like, I'm just kidding. I was like, okay, like I would have done a pave, because that was my whole like, oh, I did it in 3 hours. And then I immediately was like, super unimpressive compared to these dishes. I was like, I was like, that was just my first, I didn't even really think about the chaos or anything. I just thought about my dish in that 3 hours and then being like, wow, that was impressive. And I was like, right now, this season, this deep in, would not work. And that was my first thought. But otherwise, I do think it is kind of, they're piecing it together. They're making them, they're trying to get some good TV. They're going on the side of the building. I was confused for a little bit about like, wait, where do you get this advantage? Who has to do what? Is it like you have to lean out the farthest? I was like, I don't know. I thought it was okay, but like I have a little bit of like,
It's kind of
reach. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit of a reach to tie it into the movie Mission Impossible there. But before we get into like the challenge itself, I want to talk about this scene. I love when Kristen goes out to get the briefcase and the laser lights come on, and Tristan's like, "This is it. This is our Top Chef rave." And then you have Bailey and Lana like, and then dancing. And then some disembodied voice says, "Guys, we need an adult here." Now, they didn't show anybody saying it. So in my head, I think it was like one of the producers are like, "Come on, act like you've been here before."
Oh my God. Wait, that's so funny. I also like knowing the team that does, like the director and all these people. Ari is the director who has done Top Chef for a long time. And he's so funny and silly that I obviously was not there, but I could just imagine this conversation where he's like, I see it now, and he's like, we're going to have this and Kristen's going to walk over it like this. And like, that's his personality. And I could see like someone like Kristen being like, hell yeah, with heels on, done. The whole thing, like the bit when they get to have fun is cute.
Yeah, and they're and Kristen's stepping over the lasers and heels. But yeah, them kind of doing a mini rave there was really funny, and for whatever reason made me feel really old. Like it just like Bailey and Lana kind of like doing their thing, and I was just like, God, I'm so old. Like just watching them go.
Rich.
It was so fun.
To be honest, it made me feel old, but it just made me feel old being like I was like, man, we didn't have this much fun. Like we're old news. You know what I mean? I was like, they're silly. I feel like they're they genuinely really enjoy each other. There might only be like one, this is off topic, but like beef that I'm sensing in the whole season, which is kind of nice.
That's fun. So, I feel like we should have had another cute counter on the bottom corner of the screen because I don't know. Once they did it last episode, I could just hear it all the time now. It's just like when you buy a car and you just see that car everywhere all of a sudden. And now just hearing it and now more people are saying it, like Cesar saying it, like it's spreading. The cute infection is spreading, which I thought was really funny.
Bailey's the culprit, right?
Yeah, I think
Patient
Bailey started it,
0.
and then Lana picked it up, and now everybody's using it. So it was really funny. It's really funny. So one of the guest judges on here was one of the actors from Mission Impossible. His name, hold on, I just lost my note. Where'd it go?
It's like a cool name.
Yeah, it was. Gosh, why did
Tarzan?
Tarzan. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tarzan was his middle name, and my notes just like went away. I don't know what's going on.
No joke.
But,
For a second I thought, is this Mission Impossible? I was like, wait, hold on. I walked away from my computer for like 10 seconds, and I was like, who is he playing? And I was like, no, wait. I was like, I love that. That's a beautiful name.
Yep, one of the co-stars there. And Kristen said something funny. Said self-appointed foodie, or self-proclaimed foodie. And I feel like she used it as a pejorative. Like I feel like she's like, oh, and self-appointed foodie, this guy.
I think that like it reminds me of like I went up to do a wine dinner recently, and they were like naming all these chefs, and they had all these accolades, and they're like, Savannah Miller went to school in New England, blah blah blah. And I was like, we don't have to say I went. Like you don't. I know you don't have a lot to say, but you don't have to tell them I went to culinary school. That's not impressive. It's like if I was that guy, I'd be like, do not introduce me like that, please. Or maybe he was like, please make sure you say I'm a self-proclaimed foodie.
Yeah. Like I'm just here. I'm just glad to be here and eating all this food, but I don't know anything about food. No. Greg Tarzan Davis. There's my notes. Greg Tarzan Davis. I was like, yeah, that is kind of a cool name.
That is a name. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about hanging off the literal edge of a building. The CN Tower, 116 stories up, and they're cramming. I feel like they cram Survivor and Top Chef into one episode challenge this episode, because you get two advantages if you do two tasks. One, if you do a whole lap around the edge walk, and then the other one is if you do a lean forward and a lean back. So we'll talk about the advantages of what you got, but they showed everybody doing the lap. That was pretty easy for some. Massimo was kind of funny. We get to the leaning challenge, and Shuai and Bailey, do the lean. Everybody, some of those do the lean. And Massimo's like, I got kids, man. I ain't gonna do this. And watching go up the elevator, or putting on the suit, going up the elevator, hooking up and walking around. It's like you see his face questioning every life decision he made up until that point.
Oh, I love my favorite moment of probably the entire episode was, and I think in general, I love the little comments between Massimo and Tristan. I think it's like silly and like brotherly, but they annoy each other a little bit. You know what I mean? That's what it seems like. And so when Tristan was like, this is the most quiet I've ever heard Massimo. He's like, it's kind of nice. I died laughing. Because
That was funny.
They're scared.
Yeah, that was funny. Tristan was like, yeah, this is the most peace I think I've ever experienced, Massimo being this quiet. So that was pretty funny. But Bailey, I thought, had the right attitude. She's like, we're safe. I'm hooked up. I'm tied down. Nothing bad's gonna happen to me. Why not do these challenges? But you being afraid of heights, which one of those things would you not have done?
So I'll be honest. I would have sucked it up, and I would have done both. And it's because I would have done it. I would have just been like, you have to. But I'm fucked up. So in my head, like honestly, I would have been like, worst case scenario, this doesn't end well for me, and my family gets paid for life. Like that's what I would think is like, you know what? Like I know that if something goes wrong, like they're gonna have to pay out so much money that like Justin, my dog, they'll be set. I can buy my parents a house. I was like, whatever, we'll see how this goes. I would just do it.
And I love that this edge walk thing is like a tourist attraction, because I would totally maybe kind of do it. I don't know. We'll see.
That's the thing is if it was like, I'm on vacation, you could absolutely not. I would never, right? But if it's like, God, there's money on the line, I'm just like a little money hound. So I otherwise, if we were on vacation, I'd go shopping and let everyone else do that.
I'll see you back down on the ground floor.
But you would do it.
I'd probably do it. I would probably do
Yeah.
it. I don't have a fear of heights. I have a fear of uncontrolled heights. Like I don't have a problem being like on a roller coaster or something like that, but put me on an 8-foot ladder trying to fix a light bulb or something, and I'm just quaking in my boots because I just feel like
Yeah.
I'm gonna fall right off that ladder. But
Yeah.
controlled heights where I feel like I'm safe and I am, even though anything could go wrong. I mean, anything could go wrong.
Course.
But the more I feel like I'm safe and tied down and locked in, then I'm good. But when I'm, on the roof of my house sweeping leaves off of it, I feel a little a little queasy in my stomach because,
You
I'm
could
on
have
the
done
roof
this
and I'm not tied down.
with like a thunder coat on.
Thunder coat. Yeah, I'll borrow one for my dog. So
There you go.
that's how we'll do. So the ones though we got the advantages. So we had Bailey, Caesar, Schwei, Tristan, and Vinny. They got the 30-minute extra time cook advantage. And then all of them got the full lap around the edge walk, so they all got an extra $75 to spend at the specialty shops. I want to talk about this cheese boutique shop for just a second. I love the logo. It looks like the mascot was Chuck E. Cheese's cousin that went to culinary school. It was just
He's
like
classy.
He's the classy mouse in the Chuck E. Cheese family, but they had to pry Bailey away from the cheese counter. That I would love to go to a cheese store like that just to see how many different cheeses there are. So I don't know.
I would love to go with Bailey.
Right? Yeah, Lana and Bailey both. That would be really really fun. So then they get all their shopping done and they're down to cooking. So I want to talk about Lana's crumble because it comes back to Honor. What went wrong? She said she cooked it with the same ratio she always does, but for whatever reason it wasn't coming out right. Obviously there's too much butter. But what do you think was off with her ratio making a crumble?
To be honest, I'm not really sure. I mean, if she's like, this is what I normally do, and I was thinking about it. So I mean, I don't feel like I make crumbles a lot at home, but in Top Chef I did for the Chaos Challenge, and I was trying to think really quick, like, what did I do? And to be honest, I probably do something similar, but I didn't actually measure anything. And I just remember for me with a crumble, I'm like, I'll take the fat, the flour, whatever add-ins, like you do oats, sugar, whatever, and I mix it in a bowl until I get the consistency. It's just a feel for me. And so I wonder, I don't know, I trust her. I'm immediately like, did someone mess with an oven? I'm not sure. Or maybe it's like I don't know, butter fat thing. Maybe she thought she put the right amount in. It seems like she didn't do 1 to 1 to 1, but
Right.
I wasn't there. So I'm not sure, but I love these are saved with the tapioca maltodextrin. He was like, is it all fat? And she's like, yeah. And I sorry, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to also say that that moment was more for me too about like just the camaraderie and how cool it is that they have the same vibe of like, yo, I want to beat you on your best day. I don't want to throw away your mise and win, but like I want to help you out. And like they have different skill sets and different talents and experiences.
Yeah, and that's the difference between this era of Top Chef and the previous era of Top Chef, where back before probably season 10, it would have been like, oh, hate that for you. Then moved on. Like I wouldn't have offered any help or anything like that. And just, this is a competition. You need to, if you mess up, you're on your own. If I beat you because you screwed up, then, better for me. So, but this is the new friendlier.
The new wave.
The new wave, the new friendlier version of Top Chef.
You can take that stuff to Yes Chef.
That's right. Yes Chef. Oh my gosh. We may need to dedicate an episode to that first. I watched Yes Chef. It was not great. So we may have to dedicate an episode to that. I don't know. We'll see.
Totally would. Maybe we can get Martha Stewart on.
Oh gosh. Can you imagine? Martha, what are you doing lending your name to this thing, man? What, I mean, you got bills to pay? What's the deal?
Oh my God. I have so many questions.
Jose Andres, come on, man. You're better than this. You're better than this. What's the motivation for you?
I have so many thoughts. I actually do think that we should do an
really?
episode. Well, kind of, yeah, because otherwise now we're cross dipping too much, but I have thoughts. Yeah.
Heck yeah. We'll put it on the books. And for those of you wondering what the heck we're talking about, tune in later because we're going to do an episode. But this is the reason why we're talking about Yes Chef in this little digression here is it's made by the same producers of Top Chef, Magical Elves. So I that's one reason why I watched it. I'm like, oh, I love Magical Elves. I love what they do. And then I watched the show and I'm like, the hell did I just watch? So we'll definitely dive into that because there's not enough hate watch stuff on my podcast. I need to watch some stuff where I can really just rail into something. So
There you go.
that'd be fun. Just unhinged.
Rich is like, I have some aggression. Like I need to yell.
Eat your content unhinged.
Oh my gosh.
Bookmark it.
After hours.
After hours, right? Oh my gosh, what are we talking about? Oh yeah,
We're silly.
elimination challenge. So another guest judge, I was really glad to see back. We had Buddha Low. I had him on my podcast a couple of years ago, and he did his interview from the walk-in of his restaurant, which was really fun. And one thing that I love about Buddha is he's if I have a Mount Rushmore of Top Chef competitors, he's number one in my book. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
I mean, the only back-to-back winner of Top Chef, and I don't know if we'll ever have another back-to-back winner unless they do another type of all-star season and they bring somebody back from the previous one, because that's the only way to do it.
Are they going to do all-star next season and invite Tristan? Well, no.
Yeah, right. I mean, why not? That'll be fun. But,
I saw Buddha as a judge, and I was like, what? Again? I was like, man, that was quick. And then I was like, you know what? Not like in a bad way. I was just like, he has secured a lifetime seat at that table and deserves it.
Absolutely. And what a perfect challenge for him to judge, because this is one of those high concept challenges, this cerebral challenge. And he's really into that. He knows he does those things. The biggest challenge that is most unforgettable for me is between his Houston and his World All-Star seasons was that Trompe l'oeil challenge in World All-Stars, where they had to make something look like something else. I mean, his was on another level compared to what everybody else was doing. I mean, everybody else was kind of fun and whimsical, but he really made his plate look like a still painting of a plate of food. And it was just insane. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, you're saying that, and I'm having this moment that I can name like 5 Buddha dishes. And
Yeah.
I really could only name like one. The only other person that comes to mind is that like a Tristan dish that sticks out to me. And but I could name like Marry Me Pasta, the salmon, where he plated everything like on the salmon, and it was like
That's right.
family style or something. He did the bagel, right? That looked like something like when he met Ducasse, like on the. But I was just like, I could think of so many Buddha things, and I think it's because he really does a good job of putting a story to his food, because you remember that.
Yep, exactly right. And that comes into play when we talk about the different plates a little bit, the storytelling aspect of it. But one memorable thing on the interview, if you want to watch it or listen to it, it's episode 22. There's probably something floating around here. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a thing to click. I promise it'll be up there. Episode 22 of my podcast, he talked about bringing $1,000 worth of molds. And in my head, I'm thinking, God, he had to have brought another suitcase just for the molds. And then I asked him about it. I said, how many molds were there for $1,000? He said, it was like 2 or 3. I'm like, what? $1,000 worth of molds, and it's only 3 molds? And this just tells you how far I am from like even thinking about fine dining type of chefery. I'm thinking a mold. You go to the dollar store and you get some molds, right, to make a cake or whatever. He's talking about triple digit molds here. That's insane.
Or think about, I mean, you just compare it to what I did. I bought molds. I went on Amazon.com and I was like, wow, this could be used for ice cubes or mousse, so 100%, that is insane to me. I didn't think it was like a suitcase. I probably assumed though it was like 10 different types.
Yeah. We're talking about custom molds. He had these custom made just for him to bring to the show. I'm like, whoa, that's nuts. So episode 22, go catch it. It's a great story.
He's playing a different game.
he really was. I mean, he broke Top Chef. The way he did it. I mean, the way he studied, the way he practiced. He broke the game. So dinner service. So we're going to talk about individual dishes, what the judges said about them, and what the perceived stunt was in the dish. So Massimo was up first. He did a trout and croûte. It was a trout cooked in a pastry, kind of like a fish version of a beef Wellington. The stunt for me, I guess, when I was watching it, was the cook itself. Like it's crazy doing something that takes days to make, and he did it in 2 hours through some trickery with the dough and sous vide and ice, and he only made it in a couple of hours. Buddha loved it. It was fun watching Buddha and Massimo interact. Like Massimo's doing his Massimo thing. And, this is the first time Buddha is experiencing the full Massimo effect, right? The full-on Massimo personality. And he was just eating it up. He literally and figuratively. And I mean, who doesn't love Massimo, right?
I
And
thought I thought about like how when our season we went to the table, and I just feel like we were. I mean, I guess I didn't watch everybody else, but we were pretty subdued and like just. I think I felt an overwhelming like necessity to show like respect to him that
Yeah.
I did not have any personality at all, and I very much just like cowered down, and I loved how Massimo is like. I'm sure he respects Budalo. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he like knows these chefs are like, he's like, oh, I'm cooking for these people. And he knows it's a big deal. But I love that he's just like, whether it's his age, his experience, or like just who he is as a person, that confidence, because I don't know, it's cool for like Buddha to go home and be like, I'm always going to remember that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you remember that guy and you remember his dish, just like what we were talking about with Buddha's own dishes on his seasons. But the judges overall loved the dish. And I loved when he was cooking it and he pulled it out of the oven and it looked perfect. And he was about to cut into it to make sure it was done the way he wanted it done. He does the little stations of the cross, like a good Catholic, and then takes a deep breath, cuts into it, and he pulls it out at the end. Is like, yes, it's perfect. And good on him. I mean, I don't know how to make a trout and croûte just from exposure to the show. It looks complicated. So that was the stunt, just cooking it. and that is crazy. And if you're at that table as the judges, you understand that, right?
Well, yeah. And I also think that you could even like play into like hey, when you guys are doing these stunts, like how crucial is timing, right? Like you miss one thing, someone's in the hospital, and like you spend hours getting this shoot ready, and then you jump off this building, and if the clouds are in the way, timing is everything. And so with the fish and croûte, I feel like you are working on the timing of the dough, and can't overcook the fish, and now it's even the timing as much as like resting it, cutting it. Is it going to be perfect for the plate? Like that to me was the challenge, and he crushed.
Yeah, crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. And good on him for having faith in your own abilities to do it, right? I'm sure he's not done the dough that way before, 'cause he probably wasn't in a time crunch to make a trout and croûte at home. So he's thinking, okay, what are the basics of this dough that needs to happen, and how can I just do it faster? So good on him. That's the technique that you kind of take away with you. Like he didn't know if it was going to work or not, but now that he does, he can make this in a pinch, on a weeknight dinner now,
Also, like, I mean, I expect him to have that. I mean, it's Massimo, right? Like, I like that he not only has the confidence to do it, but he isn't just all talk.
Right. Exactly. So poor Lana had to follow that circus of a performance, and even Buddha acknowledged.
Said.
Yeah, that's what Buddha even acknowledges. Like, you got to follow that guy. So Lana made mom's fried fish basket in ode to her mother. She did a torchon of fish with a hot sauce, a cocktail gelée, and a tartar sauce hollandaise, and a cornmeal crumble. Basically, a fried fish sandwich deconstructed. So her stunt was like the illusion of that, and it just missed the mark. The crumble was the fail, as we saw her struggling with it in the cook. The judges didn't quite get it. So it didn't. Her point of view. I liked her point of view. I liked what she was trying to do, but I don't think it just executed. Everything was a little bit too deconstructed to where they couldn't figure out how to put it together and what were they supposed to get out of it. What did you think watching kind of Lana's presentation and what the judges were saying there?
I think that, I don't want to speak for her, but she does say in her confessional, this isn't my food. I don't do tricks, no tricks, right? She's like, I just, even in the first episode, like, no, Vinny, I don't want to do that with Apple. Like, can we just make really good food, right? And I mean, you just have all these different types of chefs. There's people, I think that the perfect Top Chef competitor is a little bit of everything, right? And I just found that maybe this wasn't her most comfy positioning going into a cook. Like, I don't really think this is how I do food to begin with. And so then you lean into like a story that means something to you, which I thought was smart, because if you're a little uncomfortable, you think about home, and I know I'm going to make something if it has a place where it's originating from. But I think that maybe she just hit that wall of like the technique and the vision not really all coming together, which is something, I'll be honest, like I can relate to. That happened to me multiple times. So it was hard to watch, but I was committed to the story. So I was hopeful, but I was also glad that she was safe because of the quickfire.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
No. You're good. You're good. It's all good. You gotta keep them tuned in. You gotta keep them wanting more. You gotta.
Yeah. Wait till the end.
We gotta get that engagement. We got to get that engagement time for the algorithm.
Wait, I love it. As soon as
So
we can figure out the microphones. Yeah.
As soon as we can figure out the mic, yeah. Oh my gosh, tech issues, mostly self-inflicted, but tech issues nonetheless for both of us.
We perform our own stunts. Yeah.
That's right. Badly. So Bailey did a tiramisu, and I'm gonna probably say this wrong and offensively, fugazi. I know that's a bad word somewhere. Tiramisu fugazi, a porcini, crispella, a norsina, sausage bolognese, a lot of words I've never heard of before.
I've never heard any of them.
I know. I'm like, I don't know what language are you speaking right now. So essentially, it was a lasagna, with truffle layered bechamel, finished with an olive oil powder, like an olive oil powder. That's amazing. So it was the stunt for her was kind of like that trompe l'oeil thing. It was a lasagna made to look like a tiramisu. The judge thought it was tasty, satisfying, rich, and heavy in a good way. But Tom thought it was a little doughy. So do you, what did you think? Do you think she kind of hit that stunt requirement, or?
I think that she did a good job of, like, with this being so cerebral, it's easy to get lost, you know? And so everyone, it reminds me of like the duality thing where we're like, okay, so how do I want to like interpret duality? Like, how do I want to interpret a stunt? Making something look like something it's not, I'll be honest, it's not as on the nose to me as it could be. But she did a good job doing that thing. So I feel like it's just one of those things where if her dish didn't come out well, I think that maybe they would have focused more on the idea behind it. But because it was delicious, it's like, okay, this counts as a stunt. And not that it didn't to begin with. I just don't think it was as stunty as some of the other things.
Yeah. I agree with you there. So Cesar did his take on their experience from the day. So miniature CN tower in that kind of glass cup there. It was an Arctic char tartare, turmeric custard, fish tuile, and romaine lettuce jam. The stunt, I guess, was those little pipette things. I don't quite understand what his stunt was. But the judge thought the tuile was bad execution. It was burnt. You saw him having issues with it in the cook. He had a temperamental stovetop and he couldn't get his tuiles right. Buddha thought it was way too sweet and needed acidity, and that comes back later at judge's table talking about just the overwhelming sweetness of the dish. What did you think of Caesar's?
I mean, again, like, I really enjoy his brain. Like, nobody this season is a boring cook, or a boring chef, I'm sorry. But like, I believe that it's like one of those things that's worked out for him really well in the past. And when you get good feedback on like putting, bread and butter pickle custard on something, I think that you get that confidence. And again, maybe maybe in another day, he would have been able to execute this dish perfectly and it would have been fine. But like, that's just not how Top Chef is. And I think for as many risks as he takes, this was bound to happen.
Yeah. I mean, Cesar and Tom said it during, well, I can spoil it. So during Last Chance Kitchen, he tells Caesar's like, you take big swings. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But good on him for taking big swings. You have the pickle custard that he's always going to be remembered for, and that's a big swing. And this one just didn't quite make the mark. So
he doesn't have to like go home wondering if he put it all out there.
Right. He lives by the big swing and died by the big swing. So that's what happened with him there. So Vinny had a beef tartare with variations of beets and a foie gras mousse and harissa. So the stunt, I kind of liked it. The stunt was to extract a key through the crostini breadstick lasers to get to the dish. So Vinny was kind of funny through this episode. He kind of liked the challenge, but I felt like there was a little bit of disdain for it because he was like, did I think I was going to make breadsticks that look like lasers? So here's my lasers, and he does the air quotes in the air, and he's like, I almost felt like at some point he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this gimmicky food, because he's used to doing like this refined high-end dining food, and now he's doing this gimmicky crostini breadstick laser. So I don't know, am I reading it too much into it, or do you think there's a little bit of self-hatred going into that one?
No, I think it is. I think that it's like, he is kind of, he says, this is kind of like what I do. I like to be dramatic, whatever, but it's different. I think that this just feels, I mean, it's the corporate movie sponsorship-esque of it. For me, to be honest, like, it's like when they did Jurassic Park and they're like, make a dish with blood, and and they did like the handprint, the dinosaur on the plate or something like that, where it's like, as chefs, it's not uncommon to be like Jackson Pollock and like, especially back in the day, like, I'm gonna make this look like art. It's super drama. But there's a difference between that and me like making a chocolate lava cake that when I light the candle, it bubbles out and yay, it's like two different layers of gimmicky. And I think that he is like happy to be one of those things, but he doesn't want to be put into this box.
Yeah. I felt that from him, and the way he was like doing the air quotes was pretty funny. But he had some execution issues at the table with the dry ice. He didn't really do the timing that well, and underestimated the time it would take. It would freeze, and it literally made his dish inedible. Like, it froze it solid. And even Kristen was like, I wanted to taste it, and she gets a bite and she goes, oh no, because it was a brick in her mouth. So good story. I thought it was a kind of a cool story, but really bad execution. So the dry ice thing, that's tough, man, because it takes like seconds for it to do what it's supposed to do. What would have been a better execution of that?
I don't know, because at that point too, I think that a lot of, I don't know, I believe a lot of his drama was the fact that he was using it, right? So it's like, in the moment, if you take that away, are you walking out there with just a beef tartare that you could have made for a quick fire? Like, I don't know. It sketches me out though. I've almost literally killed a car full of my friends one time. Really quick tangent. We were going to an event and we had ice cream. We had to drive an hour and a half, and we're doing like this big wedding, right? And so I had all the ice cream. And so we had a cooler and we had to pick up the dry ice, and we did. And I did not realize that the cooler was just like slightly propped. There was like a little crack and the windows were up in the car, and we're driving. And my friend in the back is like, I don't feel so good, And someone else is like, neither do I. Can you pull over? And I'm like, yeah, I'm actually getting really dizzy. And I pulled into a gas station, and I swear to God, I feel like we realized it with like 5 minutes to spare. Like, we could have poisoned everybody. Yeah, so I actually don't really engage with dry ice very often, but this sucked. I think that like his dish, I think it kind of sucked to watch Vinny be like, oh man, like I kind of get made fun of for being gimmicky. Let me shine. And then it's like, damn it. Like, I froze my beef tartare.
Yeah. Wow. Almost killing everybody in a car. That's a thing.
Sorry. Yeah. Not to, I guess out myself, but I did. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
whoops.
Yeah. Dry ice is nothing to be trifled with. I almost felt like he could have maybe done a dome with smoke instead, and then make that be like a smoked tartare, right? And then you have them all lift the glass, and you see the laser breadsticks, and do the same thing except don't use dry ice. So bad execution on his part there. So Shuai, he did a turducken with potatoes and leeks, with butter peas and carrots. So the stunt for him was make a turducken, which it was a pretty good stunt, I thought, because turducken, like he was saying, comes out dry. Everything comes out dry because nothing cooks at the same rate. And, duck's cooked at one temperature, chicken, turkey cooked at a different temperature, and you try stuffing them all in together, it's not going to come out right. So, that was his stunt. But the judges wanted more vegetable with the meat, and they didn't consider it a stunt, that it wasn't much of a stretch. And I kind of want to talk about that a little bit, because Massimo's wasn't really a stunt, other than he made something complicated easier for him to handle in 2 hours. I feel like Shuai did kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Was it as complicated as Massimo with the dough thing? No, but he made a roulade essentially out of the turducken and got everything to cook evenly and seasoned well. And I felt like the judges penalized Shuai, but elevated Massimo for doing essentially kind of the same thought process. It was the cook was the stunt.
If I can be honest, the only difference for me is that people don't make fish and croûte for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not saying that they're executing it at Shuai's level at home in your backyard, right? But I just think that it's the pretentious, I don't want to say pretentiousness, but like the next level, right? It's kind of like, you did a turducken, it's great. I don't know, just to say that like, oh, most people don't do this well and I'm going to cook it well. Well, if you're going to make anything, we hope you make it well,
Right.
Like, I don't know. I think that the idea was there, but I just don't think that it was as impressive.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is that his stunt of cookery wasn't as impressive as Massimo's stunt of cookery. I guess the difference is the level of difficulty there because yeah, you can make a roulade out of all three turkey, chicken, and duck and have it come out okay. So, but the margin of error was much larger for Massimo than I think it was for Schwei, and I think that's what maybe the judges were considering. But at first glance, and at my knee jerk reaction was, why are you penalizing Schwei? Massimo did the same thing, and he was praised for it. But this is why we have these conversations, Savannah. We talk it out, and we come up with different opinions on the other side of it.
And then we fight in the alley after. No,
that's kidding. Right. And what you making now?
Oh, just supreming some oranges. We this weekend, because we're so busy, everyone's celebrating. We are definitely prepping more of like our grand tasting. I would say we do a kaiseki, so we have a lot of those, but we also have a lot of like our high tier menu, and so this is for our special dessert on that menu.
Oh, nice. What's the orange supreme's going to be a part of? What's the dessert?
Yeah, so essentially, we do a mochi crepe cake.
Ooh.
It's really yummy. It's like, I love crepes to begin with, but I'm also obsessed with anything, sweet rice flour. So I would basically layer it like a rectangle, right? Like I make rectangle crepes, and then I do a pastry cream in between. And then we will wrap that and let it set and kind of firm up. And when it comes out, I'll show you. Ready? It's like Rachel Ray. I'm like, and I have one made. Yeah.
The magic of television.
But if you're watching.
If you're watching this on YouTube, what a treat for you guys.
Well, basically, you can just kind of see all the layers here, right? But.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah. And so right now it's very firm, but this will get cut into like a really, I love layered things. But this will be a dessert for this weekend. And it's kind of like a play on a crepe Suzette. So think like orange, lots of butter, lots of sugar. And then we kind of balance that with shiokoji. So like really salty, fermenty rice. And it's delicious. It's kind of addictive.
Wow. But that sounds delicious. Sounds delicious. Yeah. Fantastic. You can ship one to my house. Just put it in some dry ice, but make sure the box is sealed. And,
yeah.
Ship it to my house there. That'd be great.
I got your bar seat ready for you. Reserved.
So one last dish at dinner service. We have Tristan with Chicken Impossible. I liked his story. I thought it was, dare I say, cute. But it was a chicken wing stuffed with a quote unquote virus of andouille, sausage, crab, and chicken mousse. And the trick is you have to pour the boiled American antidote, quote unquote, antidote sauce over the wing in 30 seconds or the wing gets cold. So he took his inspiration from one of the Mission Impossible franchise movies. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. I want to say it was the fourth one. I remember it was about chimera, which was a disease, but I can't remember which number it was. So he took his inspiration from the movie. And he had the same dry ice issues that Vinny had. He tried using dry ice too. And some of the sauce on some people's froze, which I think I kind of get what he was going for, right? You pour the dry ice and then you got to fish out the antidote and pour it on your chicken wing, because if you don't, the chicken wing's going to get cold and it's going to be quote unquote dead. So I like the thought process behind it. The judges thought the presentation interaction was fun. It had a POV. And the sauce was the best thing on the plate. One of the judges said it was restaurant ready and the best thing he ate that night. But they also had issues with the dry ice, and it was the best dish flavor-wise, but didn't quite execute. So what did you think of Tristan?
I mean, to be honest, I think I was I enjoyed this one less from him, but I think I just enjoyed it in general less, like the challenge itself, because I think it tests. I mean, I know it's like a creativity challenge, right? Like, can you think on your toes? Can you tell a story? I just don't like it when it leans too far into like the gimmicky stuff versus like if it keeps them from putting their best food on the plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, I think this is, I mean, obviously he did great. They liked it. It's not my favorite dish that he's done because I don't think that it was his.
I agree with you there. I think he really leaned into the gimmicky portion. I think he had fun with it. I will say that. I think he had fun with it, but at the sacrifice of execution. Again, the dry ice kind of Vinny and him didn't understand the mechanics behind it and how quickly it works. So it's unfortunate. So let's get to judges table. So at the top, they did the top first. So the top of the judges table was Tristan, Bailey, and Massimo. So Tristan, with his flaws, was still in the top three. Bailey, they loved her dish, and Massimo obviously did really well. So Massimo wins the elimination challenge. He gets 10K.
Hey.
Yeah, Massimo getting his flowers and tickets.
He needed it.
Yeah, he did. He felt like he needed. He felt like he's cooking really well, but he's on the same season as Tristan. So that's unfortunate. I mean, really, that's kind of where we're at. I mean, Massimo, I think, is a really great chef, and if he were on any other season, he probably would be in that top spot most of the time. But you're just on the same season as Tristan, man. And you won this one though, so good for him. And he gets 2 tickets to the premiere of the new Mission Impossible movie. So good job. So Massimo and Shuai. Oh, yeah, we talked a little bit about that already. So on the bottom was Lana, Vinny, and Cesar. And this is where I think storytelling messed up Cesar. So Tom said, had you told me that dish was a dessert or was a savory dish playing as a dessert, you would have nailed it because it was way too sweet. But he didn't. And that's where the storytelling, I think, messed him up. So that, again, what you say your dish is needs to match up with what you put down in front of the judges. Like how important is that?
Oh, it's so important. And I mean, you hear even Lana talking about that. She's like, if this isn't like a good texture, my crumble, then I can't write like this on the menu. I think it means so much more than anybody realizes. And at the end of the day, in those moments where it's like, oh, this isn't really coming out how I want, some people will lean into that and, try to like, I don't know if trick is the right word, but like, I'm going to talk around this at judges table. I should not like point with my knife while I talk, but, and I think some people like just own it and they blah, blah, blah. Right. But that's a choice that you have to make when you've already made your menu and things aren't going right in the kitchen is like, do I stand by this or do I own up to it and I just like verbalize what happened? Because sometimes you can get away with it.
Yeah. Sometimes you can talk your way out of a problem, right? Like Massimo's a great talker. I feel like he could do that. He could probably talk his way out of a problem. But Cesar, he said exactly what his dish was, but because he didn't execute it that way, it came off wrong. Like that, what he was saying didn't match what came out out of the kitchen. So, and that's what got him eliminated. But the elimination was really interesting because clearly the quick fire saved Vinny and saved Lana. Because I mean, what a roller coaster for Lana, coming off of a high of a quick fire to very bottom of the judges table. But Vinny, man, he's lucky he had a good quick fire because honestly, I felt like he should have went home. His dish wasn't even edible. Like some of the judges couldn't even eat their food. And so this is where that quick fire came into play and saved him. And I think the better chef got eliminated, unfortunately.
I think it's good that they were able to use, like, when you make a change in the game, but it doesn't really come into play anytime soon. And then you kind of forget that it's happening and then they'll use it and you're like, wait, what? Yeah. For me, this was positive because, I mean, unfortunately it is what it is for who got eliminated, but I think that they were able to use this new rule very quickly. And it's good for viewers to not like get confused about what's going on, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it was good to see that in play at that episode because I mean it's a controversial ending, I think, and gets people like me and you talking about it. So I thought it was really good. But yeah, I think the better chef went home, but he has a chance to come back. We go right into Last Chance Kitchen. It's the finale of Last Chance Kitchen. It's a 2-parter. So the winner of this Last Chance Kitchen is back in the main competition. You have Cesar just getting eliminated versus the hot hand of Katiana. Katiana's making a run. I thought this was a great matchup. And the challenge was really interesting. So the first part of the 2-part challenge was they can make whatever they want, but Cesar and Katiana had to choose one of the eliminated chefs from the peanut gallery sitting over there on the sidelines and direct them on how to cook the dish. And the eliminated chef that's doing their cooking for them can only reply with yes, chef, no, chef. So there's no collaboration, just orders given and orders executed. What did you think of that?
My first thing, which is I was like, are they trying to promote Yes Chef?
Oh, that's some like, subliminal advertising there.
I think it is, right? And anyways, after I got over that, basically hated it because I don't like if I mean to be completely honest, I was if I was Katiana, my thought would be like, what the hell? Like I just beat out all these people. We're at like I'm almost about to get back into the competition. I want to cook my food. I want you to eat the food that I cook. This isn't like top knows how to write an SOP. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah.
this is Top Chef. I want to season it. But I do think I absolutely understand that it's testing a different skill. Like, can you lead? Can you direct? Can you be very specific? Can you be to the point and quick? But I didn't love it, to be honest. For Cesar, I thought it was silly because he's like, I don't even have to cook. I heard Last Chance Kitchen was pretty bad. You guys are like babies.
Yeah, I thought it was. So I am glad that it was a two-parter, and they did actually. Because I would have hated if this were like the final challenge, and then you end up going home because you didn't even cook your own food. You just went home because you couldn't direct well. So I am glad it was a two-parter. I'm kind of with you. I wasn't a fan of this challenge. I like this challenge in the main competition, which they have that where it's they take somebody that's not a chef and they put them on the other side of a barrier. They did this in World All
Olympics.
Stars. Yeah, the Olympics. And I thought that's fun because it's funny. It makes for great TV. And you get somebody that doesn't know how to cook and you're trying to give direction to, the dishes always come out hilarious. That's where that challenge should be. But for people fighting for their lives to get back in the competition, I wasn't a fan of it. But Katiana chose Kat, her neighbor, and Cesar chose Corwin. Katiana made, or not Katiana, Katiana directed Kat to make a burrata with roasted bacon, kimchi, and fried Brussels. Tom liked the textures, but wished it had more acid and it ate a little flat. Cesar made, or had Corwin make a pear cream with grilled pear, roasted maitake, and kumquats and sorrel. Tom thought it was a smooth pear cream because it can come out grainy normally with pears. And it was sweet and earthy, and some of the roasted elements were burnt. But beyond all that, Cesar wins the challenge. And then the plot twist is a two-parter, and it's the best 2 out of 3. So again, really happy that they get to cook at least twice, and that they do have a hand in either staying or going home based on their own cooking. So the next challenge is to make a one-bite dish. And it'll be a blind judging, which I thought was really good. When I watched them cook this one bite challenge, and I don't know why my mind went there, but I was thinking about all the food waste that must happen on Top Chef, right? Like what happens to all that food? Do you have any insight on doing that? They're making one bite, but they're using like, a whole loin of tuna and they're only cutting off 2 slices. What happens to the rest of it?
I can tell you what I do know. What I do know is the times that people in our season were wasteful, we were yelled at.
Wow.
And, which I love, right? Like you wouldn't do that in your own restaurant. And so I think it's about respect, and I think it's about having at the end of the day, it's about having respect for like the environment, and people who have less. And so when we were shooting, I remember the culinary producer basically being like, think sanitation. Like, I know you guys are in a rush, but I don't want to see you like throwing dirty hands in bins, and like be conscious of the fact that we can reuse these things. And if you guys waste a whole bag of this product when you only need a cup, just because you're being, kind of quick and not thinking about it, you're not going to have that for your next quick fire. I'm not restocking it. And so everyone's kind of like, oh, we want as many options as possible. But then the other thing I'll say is at the end of the season, I think this is correct. I don't want to say it if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they donated everything. And like we got to go do one last like walkthrough of like the kitchen before they packed it up. And I think they were taking a lot of stuff that they could reuse, like unopened bottles of condiments, things that last a very long time. And they might just ship that to their next location and use that, right? But I also believe that the things that they couldn't keep, they were donated in Wisconsin.
Yeah, because you see that they do the quick shots of the pantry, and you see these mounds of produce and the perishable stuff. So it's good that they donate that, and I love that you're that behind the scenes of like they yelled at you about food waste. So that's the challenge that you don't see, right? You see the time challenges and the stress of cooking under that, but on the other hand, you're thinking that in the back of your mind because I don't want the director or producer yelling at me about food waste, and I want to make sure I have that for next time.
And they put so much time and effort into it. I mean, there's huge teams that put together that kitchen, obviously, right? And you get to know them by name. So it's like, would you go into like your coworker's space and just like mess it all up and then walk out and be like, I'm the one on screen? You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, we respect their space because they set us up for success. But I think they do a good job.
What a cool story. I love that.
Yeah.
So the one bite challenge, Katiana served seared tuna with smoked shoyu, celery root relish, and caper aioli. Tom said it was nicely seared but under seasoned. Cesar made gougere with white chocolate and blue cheese filling. That sounded awful. I mean, the puff looked great, but I'm not a huge fan of white chocolate. I'm not a huge fan of blue cheese, and you throw those two things together, that does not sound good in any way, shape, or form in my head.
Yeah.
It was rough. And Tom was like, I couldn't figure out what he was eating. He said, I couldn't figure out what I was eating. It's salty, sweet, but it wasn't defined. So for those reasons, Katiana wins the second challenge. So now it's a little drama, a little tension, and now we go into sudden death. So sudden death, the winner of this one takes it all. Only 20 minutes to make whatever composed dish they want. So it's basically do whatever you want to do. But you only have 20 minutes. They take 10 minutes off the clock. So Katiana makes a vadavan cauliflower and potato soup with raisins, cilantro, and lime. And Cesar made a zucchini spiral with salsa pepian and fried pepitas, blistered blueberries. Caesar's dish looked really cool. I really, to pull that off in 20 minutes was amazing. Just the little bouquet of zucchini made there. And then the last minute thought of throwing the blueberries I thought was brilliant. And then Katiana's soup looked good. Now, Tom said it needed seasoning. Like, you just got judged about lack of seasoning. And now you're getting judged again for that same thing. And then he said it ate thick, which you don't really, yeah. He said it ate like a hollandaise sauce, which can't be texturally satisfying in any way, shape, or form.
Or like what she wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, or definitely not what she wanted.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite, Caesar's was nicely cooked, seasoned well, and he liked the blueberries, the sweetness from the blueberries. So with that, Caesar wins. And just like that, he's eliminated and right back in it.
Honestly, I just had so much money on Kat. Like, the story made sense. Anything can happen, so it is what it is. But I love Caesar as well. But I just was really surprised by this.
Yeah, I mean, I am too. And I thought Katiana coming in with a hot hand, she would have pulled it out, but the seasoning got her. Like, you were judged on being under seasoned in your second dish, and then you make that same mistake in the third dish. Tom ain't gonna let that fly. And that's what happened with Katiana. You feel bad for her because she made such a run, and in this kind of King of the Hill format of Last Chance Kitchen, it's the last person gets in, that makes the dish, and you're right back in it, and all that work for naught, unfortunately.
Well, of course, and like for almost a second, I do feel bad until I remember that, like, well, Cesar has been working the whole time. That's why he wasn't in Last Chance Kitchen. So he's putting in work. The whole game is like, how long can you last so you don't have to fight that hard in that battle, right? And so one of them had to work on the latter end, and one of them had to be putting that work in this whole time. So it is what it is.
Yeah. So Caesar's back, and he has a chance to come back and win the whole thing. I want to talk a little bit about the way the chefs come back now, because we talk a lot about Tristan being the first one to come back from Last Chance Kitchen and win the whole thing, but she came back literally at the finale and came out and won the thing. Now this new era of Top Chef with Last Chance Kitchen being included, you got to work a little harder to get into the finale now, because Caesar's coming back and now there's still 7 chefs remaining. So it's like he didn't make any progress in that sense. And he still has to fight his way into the finale. So, hot take, I think Kristen had an advantage with her Last Chance Kitchen that others don't. And I think that's why you don't see as many Last Chance Kitchen participants making it to the final anymore, because they don't bring them in at the finale. They bring them in literally at halftime and then like halfway through the third quarter. So what's your thoughts on that? Not to knock Kristen. She's great. She's a great chef, obviously.
Obviously.
But she had a huge advantage in her Last Chance Kitchen versus everybody else.
Yeah, you can make it through LCK, and then you have to beat one more person.
Yep.
Like, I just think, That was Brooke, right?
Yeah, Brooke Williamson. Yeah.
Brooke was done dirty. That's what I think.
I'm
No,
gonna.
no, you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean, but maybe Brooke lays in bed at night and goes, "Damn it, like that should have been my season."
Yeah.
But look at them. I mean, both of their careers have taken off. You don't really lose on Top Chef. Let's make that clear. If you're on Top Chef, you don't really lose. There was actually a TikTok that Top Chef put out with the judges saying that of all the reality shows competitions out there, they have the most outstanding people in their field than anybody else that have made names for themselves in their respective fields in any other reality show competition. Like you think about American Idol, you think about X Factor, you think about The Voice. You know, American Idol, you have like maybe 3-4 people that have, you know,
Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, Daughtry. You know, a few that have
Clay Aiken,
Ruben Studdard. You know, Taylor Hicks. I mean, these guys are
Scotty
superstars. Scotty McCreery.
Raleigh's own.
I mean, look at them now. They are. I'm just kidding, but seriously, yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, but in Top Chef, you got, and I can't even think of anybody on The Voice that has done anything with their win. I can't think of a single Voice winner. But you look at the competitors from Top Chef, they have done so much that you forgot that they're on Top Chef. They are their own brand now. And you have Chef Kwame that was on Chef's Table on Netflix, I think, last season.
Chef Kwame just cooked for the Met Gala.
Yeah, he cooked for the Met Gala. I mean, you have to dig deep into his CV to go, oh, he was on Top Chef. So it's stuff
and
like that.
And didn't win.
Yeah, and he didn't even win, right? Even though you don't win, you still win. So
I think that's a big reason why it's coveted, and that's why people want. Like, I mean, that's why you see it as an opportunity to, hopefully, you know, if you're not an asshole, you don't ruin your career just by being an asshole, or, you know, if you make it that far, you trust that you should be there for at least a little bit, right? And I think that the main goal would be to have a long. I mean, who doesn't want to go do something like that, and you can keep it going, right? Like that's the goal, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you have two options of your life post Top Chef, right? You can either be Kwame and end up on Chef's Table, or end up cooking for the Met, or you can be Katsuji and end up on Yes Chef.
There you go.
and another Top Chef tie-in. Man, the segues.
We're killing it.
Nailed it. So before we close out, we got to do draft points, but we got some listener mail again. So yay. A question for you, Savannah. This actually comes from YouTube. So we have viewer Claudio Foshi asking, does Top Chef allow you to have phones, books, watch TV, or listen to music when you're sequestered? How much access to the outside world do you get?
Oh, none. Okay, so I'll give you the short and sweet version of it. Like, we are not allowed to have anything that could help you win. And that includes being inspired, right? So, you know, you're not, when you move into your hotel room, everything's gone. You know, they remove the TV, they remove the phone, like, they obviously take your cell phone and stuff, but like, you know, you don't even have like a secret opportunity when doors are shut, like they take everything. And then as far as like communicating with loved ones back home, it's very regimented, and it happens, on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and it's very fair. So like everyone will get the same amount of time to call. There's, you know, let's say that something crazy happens, your parent, you spend 5 minutes calling them, they don't pick up the phone. That's 5 minutes. Okay, you lost your 5. So they're very good about that. And as far as like music, no, like we're not even, if we're getting picked up and we're headed home from, you know, a cook, the production assistants are not allowed to put music on in the car. And they would know because we're always mic'd up. So let's say you get in the car and the stereo comes on, it's like they're going to get it in their earbuds yelled at, because it's just supposed to be very fair. And they also don't want it to not be timeless. So if I'm like, man, that new Dua Lipa song was fire, you know, it doesn't help. So they're really good about that. And about halfway through, they gave us CD players. And so we could ask for like one CD, and that's when we were all getting a little stir crazy. So at that point, you couldn't take like the CD player out of like Danny's hands, but that was later on.
Oh, wow. So, interesting. So it's like, how do you pass the time? Like you have no books, you have no music in your hotel room. Do you just all just get together and just chat and try to...
You're pretty busy most of the time. I mean, the amount of times that we had like a day with like an off day, maybe you'll have like a mental health day where it's intentional that like, okay, we're going to let you guys have some fun. And they would plan activities for us, which were great. And as far as like, you could ask me, I feel like you could ask for books, but they were very specific. Like I tried to get a book and I started reading it. It was like a self-help book and I just wasn't into it. So, because it doesn't have any, if you even had a book that had a reference to a recipe in it, because it's part of the story, you wouldn't really be able to have that. And
Wow.
so it's very specific. I read actually a lot of David Goggins while I was there. Let me give a little shout out there. You know who that is?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah. You'll have to look into it. It's very encouraging, but that's kind of like what I did.
Wow. Yeah, I guess it makes sense with the timelessness, because you want to be able to repeat this on streaming services like Peacock, right? Where you're watching, you're doing the Top Chef binge. And so if you're listening to this podcast in the year 2300, Dua Lipa was a pop star in the mid to late 20th century. No, I'm just kidding. So before we get into draft points, what you making?
Oh, sorry. This here, lobster.
Ooh.
So we are just getting, it's normal numbers except like double. So everything I would normally do on a Friday, I'm just doing it kind of like 2 times. But we do like lobster tempura.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That looks good. So draft points. Just a great episode for points this episode. So Bailey, let's go to my team first. Bailey had 3 points for being on the top of the judges table, and Tristan had 3 points for being on the top of the judges table, and that's it. That's all the points on my team this episode. So I got 6 points, and for you, Caesar, by being on the bottom of the judges table but also winning Last Chance Kitchen, walks away with 0 points, so not in the negative but not in the positives either. Lana got a quickfire win, but was also on the bottom of the judges table this episode, so she got 3 points, 5 for the quickfire win, -2 for being on the bottom. Massimo wins the thing, gets 7 points for the episode, and Vinny gets -2 for being on the bottom, so you get 8 points this episode. So 8 to 6, you win the episode, and so far for the season, it is Team Savannah with 79 and Team Rich with 81.
We're tight.
I know. I love it. It's going to come down to the wire. I mean, we got 6, maybe 5 episodes left, because what is it, final 3 that cook? Final 4?
Yeah.
So we only got a couple of episodes left before this thing's all done, and we are coming to the wire. Basically a tied up ball game, only separating a couple of points. So I'm excited to see how it goes.
It's more fun this way.
Of course, you're more invested. You're more invested in what the chefs are doing. So good job. Amazing stuff. So we did it. I mean, a lot to cover. We got through it. We made it through our tech issues at the beginning, and came away with a really great episode. Thank you so much for sharing your kitchen space and kind of cluing me in on what you were making. Love getting behind the scenes. I feel like I'm chatting up with the chef at chef's table, and except I have no food in front of me, and that's a little depressing.
Well, you know what? Now that I've realized that this is acceptable, I can't wait to do this every week. I'm going to be so much more efficient. I love it.
Yeah, man, get 2 things done at the same time, and I love it, and I'm sure our viewers will love it. If you don't love it, leave a comment and say, quit showing me what you're doing and just talk about Top Chef. I thought it was fun.
Someone's gonna be like, Savannah, wash your hands, or there's gonna be some sanitation comment, but no, it was fantastic, and I'm excited. I was a little concerned if I would be intrigued with this episode after the craziness of last week, but I liked it. It was good.
Yeah, I did too. So good luck on everything this weekend. I know it's going to be busy. Now this is airing on Monday, so past Mother's Day and past graduation weekend, but good luck this weekend. I know you're going to be busy. All hands on deck, right?
It's going to be a little crazy. Yeah. It's one of those weekends where we're going to be ready to flip the sign 10 minutes early, because if we can seat people 10 minutes before we open, we'll be better off by the end of the night. It's so many turns, and the tasting menus, they're 2 hours long. Also not, love everybody, right? But everyone on graduation and Mother's Day weekend, they're celebrating. It's my mom's graduation. It's my sister's graduation. It's my mom's celebration. So it's just about making everybody feel that. And it is true that they're important, but you got 2 hours and we have to keep going. So that's the game. Yeah. It's like expedited hospitality.
So if you're in the Durham area and you have a reservation for M Tempura, I know you're listening to this late, but treat your people nice, tip well, and you'll get great service.
Yeah. All the above. Yeah.
So where can people follow you and see all the festivities that have happened this past weekend?
yeah, you can catch up on all the drama at on Instagram on SavvySab, SAVVYSAVV.
Awesome. Awesome. Don't forget to like and follow the podcast at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure you like and subscribe on the podcast player of your choice so you'll know when new episodes are coming up and see what Savannah might be cooking next week. Who knows if we keep doing it. I love this format. This is great. So
yeah, we should 100%.
Yeah, we'll do it every week. That way you can, I feel like I'm not taking you away from your work.
Oh my God, I think I'm just more this is more comfortable for me, I guess, too. And I normally, literally when we hang up and this, the rest of the team gets here, I'm going to keep prepping and keep talking about Top Chef. So it's normal.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, good luck this weekend. Looking forward to seeing what occurs next week and what fun things we have in store. So thanks again.
Thanks, Coach. Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening to Eat Your Content. If you like what you hear, please consider supporting the podcast through my merch store on TeePublic. Get great quality items like t-shirts, hats, mugs, and more, all sporting the vibrant Eat Your Content logo. Go to teepublic.com/user/eatyourcontent for more great items, and thanks for your support.